D from Iowa, who wants to talk about non-binary identity. D, how are you doing? Are you there? I cannot hear D. Right, let's try again. Sorry about that, folks. D, hello. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there.
No worries. No worries. Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Not a problem. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Very well. So what is it you want to kind of talk about? You want to talk about non-binary identity?
Yes, but also the kind of the legal landscape that's under threat from Christian nationalism. I'm 61 years old and only in the last month or so embraced non-binary identity. And it's really a new thing for me, but it's not, it's a new thing for me to do that, but I've known since 13 or 14 that I was not a binary human being, but until recently really didn't have the tools to explore that. And I feel like just as go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, what was the reason that you kind of, you had this feeling from being very young? What was it that stopped you expressing yourself or exploring this identity within yourself for so long?
Well, I've identified as lesbian for over 30 years. And I did, during that time, I explored the possibility of transitioning. And I decided against it for two reasons. First was out of consideration for my father's reputation in a very small town where he was the chief of police. And the other was there was a very real possibility that if I started transition, my partner would have left me. So for those reasons, I examined it and then I tucked it away as not possible.
Is it because of the widening kind of understanding within society of those issues that you now feel more comfortable about expressing it?
I can give you two reasons. Number one, a huge split with my remaining family that allowed me to really start thinking of myself on my own terms rather than letting them continue to define me with grievances and issues that have been resolved for decades, but they keep bringing it up whenever they get disappointed with me. And I finally found the freedom in my own mind to just be who I wanted to be and no longer afraid of what they would think of that. And second, honestly, listening to Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience helped me build up the courage to claim that identity. So thank you, guys. And Mr. Gilliver, you in particular, along with Matt Dillahunty, Richard, you and Matt and Forrest gave me the courage that it's not personally, at least I knew that there were at least three people out there who believed I had the right to be myself.
Thank you. I'm not going to lie. I've got a tear in my eye. I really have. Look, I genuinely have. If I start bawling, please forgive me. Look,
I'm sorry.
no, you don't have to apologize. It's the bravery and the strength of people like you that give people like me the ability to do this. It's hearing the positiveness out of what comes from what we say that allows us to continue. Sometimes, really, I'm tearing up here. Sometimes allows us to, overcome, these conversations that we have with sometimes very difficult callers, and try and get, push through those difficult conversations with people who sometimes not through their own fault. Sometimes it is through their own fault, but, there's a spectrum, are ignorant of, meeting other people's needs, understanding other people's identities. And it's very important to kind of push through those difficult conversations and make sure that, everybody's voice gets an opportunity to be heard. Everybody's opinion gets an opportunity to be aired, so that people can listen. And I think it's a testament to our listeners. It's a testament to our viewers that reading the comments week on week as I do, you can tell people, even the people who are religious, can tell who the jackasses are and who the people who are genuine are and genuinely want the best for other people, whether they're religious or not. It's the strength of people like you who will say, this show has made, and shows like it have made a difference to the way I represent myself. It's given me the strength to be able to represent myself as who I really am. And honestly, thank you for doing that. Thank you for letting us know, because it is that gives us the strength to be able to keep going on and doing what we're doing. Aaron, any thoughts?
No, I would say thank you, Dee. You did the work. You're doing the work. You got some inspiration from somebody, but you're the one that's doing the work and learning to be yourself and learning that that's okay. That's some of the same work that I'm doing, probably not to the same degree that you've had to struggle through, but it can be really challenging. It can be really hard to learn to be yourself. But I'll just let you know that you got a lot of support out there. And I don't know if you're watching the live chat on YouTube right now, but it's going by so fast from love to you that I can't even read it all right now. So you're loved and supported, and the majority of people out there are going to love and support you, and people that are in your same situation. Good people will take the good parts of religion and be good people. They'll take the good parts of whatever is out in life, and there are good people out there that will love and embrace and support you. And this is your community if you need one.
Absolutely. And Dee, I want to address the second part of the thing you called about, which was the need to be creative in combating Christian nationalist tendencies to make laws based on religious bias. Do you have any thoughts in that area?
I do. And this is not something that's going to happen overnight, because the Christian nationalist, the form that we're dealing with now has been 40 years in the making. But we need to take steps, first off, to reverse Christian privilege in our society. And some of the thoughts I have are probably pretty controversial and would take a lot of work to accomplish. First of all, we need to, what's the word I want? We need to rehabilitate our tax code, for one thing, in order to make it harder for some organizations to claim exemption. we need to work on, I believe that some forms of religious speech can be interpreted as hate speech. And we need to find a way to combat that and possibly even eventually include some forms of religious speech into the hate speech laws. Now, I recognize that at least in this climate, that's probably going to be near on impossible, and it would have to be very narrowly defined. But those are just a couple of the thoughts that I have.
Aaron, again, I'm going to turn to the non-profit.
No, I think I don't have any more specific than that. I mean, we have to be really careful. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, so we have to be careful about taking any kind of positions. But I think that money equals power, and I think we need to be really vigilant about taking power away from people. That the more power someone has, we need to take that power away and distribute it so that more people have power. Whether that is money equals power, whether that be people in government having too much power for too long, we need to make sure that people do not hold power, too much power, and for too long. I think that should be the goal.
I agree. Yes.
It's really interesting because we do have hate speech laws in Britain, and there have been occasions where Christians, in particular, have been literally arrested or moved on from giving this speech, giving speeches which contravene this, or gathering in areas where people aren't allowed to gather. And inevitably they turn it into the old Christian persecution thing, where I remember one in particular, and this wasn't because this particular lady was saying anything particularly untoward, but she was doing it in a place she was saying things that were untoward, but she was kind of doing it in a protest to a silent protest, she said, in an area where she wasn't allowed to gather, near an abortion clinic. So she was moved on because she was where she shouldn't have been. Now, there was a great outcry about this. All the kind of usual outlets that you'd expect were crying, "Oh, Christian persecution, she's been arrested and all she was doing was engaging in silent prayer." But it was where she was doing it which was important. It was, and she was loitering in the area, and she admitted to have been, as she said herself, she was silently praying. And this is something that one of the things we have to combat is this kind of push, and from certain social media outlets, and some are worse than others for giving misinformation out there, and pushing. I actually, with this particular post on Twitter, I actually corrected, or X, or whatever you want to call it, I actually corrected. There was an opportunity to correct misinformation, and I corrected the misinformation that she wasn't moved on because she was just engaging in silent Christian practice. She was actually moved on because she was where she shouldn't have been. And it's very important to get facts out there, and correct things. And it's only by getting, as I've said many times tonight, and I'm a true believer in this, getting correct information. If we're all starting from the same page, if we're all starting from correct information, then we can have a much better dialogue. And when we've got a better dialogue, we're in a much stronger position to enact change, which is beneficial for everybody, which doesn't kind of infringe on people's personal freedoms, whichever side of the fence they're on. When we can have a good dialogue, we can work together to engage in change. And I think that's something that is much needed within the kind of, certainly in online communities, but I think it's something that would also benefit real, like your real life stuff, and particularly when you're talking about Christian national tendencies, trying to make laws based on religious basis, get the misinformation out there, get the loopholes out of the way that they, because often, and again, we talk about this on the non-profits a lot, Christian nationalists will try and shove a law knowing it's going to be rejected so that they can see where the loopholes are so that next time they can come with a refined argument. Now, if we're working together, if we're working on a shared basis, it makes it much easier to prevent that from happening.
Definitely. And I think membership in like-minded groups is definitely important because there's strength in numbers. But I think we've also got to watch out for I'm constantly frustrated in our state's atheists and free thinkers because it sounds like all they do is have conferences. They might host a couple of speakers a year, and then they have meetups at diners and cafes, but nobody's doing anything. And I want to find people that are active and engaged and not just going out for coffee every Sunday,
Yeah, Aaron.
Anyway,
Yeah,
that's all I got,
keeping things equitable and keeping our government working for the majority of the people requires energy. It requires work. If you abandon a house, eventually it's going to crumble down and just turn into a pile of rubble. Yeah. And so we need to apply that same kind of energy to our government, our institutions, the things we want the world, the way we want the world to be. We have to put energy in to keep it that way. It's not going to just magically happen. So each of us needs to find a way that we can contribute to making the world the way we want it to be, and don't stop and keep continuing to do that. Find the community, find the group, find the cause. Even if it's donated $1, $5, find something that you can do to add positive energy into our systems to make them better.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. Thanks, guys, for taking my call. I don't want to take up too much time from other callers. Once again, thank you.
Thanks for calling, Dee.
Nice to speak to you, Aaron and Richard. Very nice to speak to you again. You were the first show I called into was Talk Heathen. I've called in like 3 or 4 other times to Talk Heathen and Atheist in the Line, and Richard, you were on that first show, so nice to speak with you again.
Thank you so much, and you are always welcome to call back. Yes. especially with those kind words. Not many people make me cry. So no, I appreciate it, but I do want to stress that it is, this is a community, and everybody in this community, wants kind of to get these ideas, these religious ideas challenged. They want to get these religious pushers to get Christian nationalism in the US challenged. They want to get support and give a voice to people who feel that haven't always had that voice. Dee, you are amazing. Thank you very much for calling.